Okay, second race of the month. Three races. Second one, we've got Imola, Italy. Boy, let's fire away. What you guys saying?
All I have to say is TK came prepared. However, you at one point in the race, I knew you had half the top on because the way that papaya guy was driving, it was squeaky.
We knew it. We knew that McLaren upgrade that they showed us a sneak preview at the last race was actually going to show us everything it has this race. And look at this.
But you know what's weird?
Face. Look at this.
Man. You know what's weird?
I'm just happy for McLaren to be back on consistent action, man. It's good.
None of the upgrades worked. Like they through the race, they said none of the upgrades that TK did a video on actually worked for anyone. These McLaren upgrades are from last week, 2 weeks ago. So these they're simmered, they're embedded. However, none of those upgrades that actually worked because everyone that's had an upgrade had some issue. It's the first race where upgrades come and they bring issues with them. However, it was, for me, the worst race of the year so far. It was
because
boring.
there was no safety car.
No, forget the safety car. It was just
we want our drivers
boring.
to make it to the end in peace, you know.
This guy is anti-safety. This guy.
It was just, guys. All they did was the same three were switching places. It was boring. There was no excitement. Actually, there was a bit of excitement when Albon put his car in the pit. When they told him we're retiring it, we don't want to do this. It was mundane. It's not what I expected. But however, you have to look at the 30th anniversary for Ayrton Senna. So maybe people were reserved. Maybe.
A safe Imola is a good Imola, man.
I agree with you, Ben. Anything to do with safety, let's be safe. Look at the start of the race itself. 2 years ago, we had Daniel Ricciardo's race. Actually, his race didn't end. It was Charles Leclerc who got knocked off by Daniel Ricciardo at the beginning on the first lap, and that was the end of it. You could see that everyone was very cautious on that first lap to make sure that they at least got through unscathed, and we still had a good race. Unlike what you said, Cici, I actually think the upgrades that were put on by everyone are actually there. And the reason I say that is look at Checo's pace. Checo is the guy who has a terrible qualifying, and then he starts to improve during the race, and he gains those positions back. And we didn't see that, which meant that everyone is actually now competitive, and people have actually caught up to Red Bull. It's only that Max is in the first car, is in a very fast car, so it's not very visible that the pace has been lost, or everyone else is catching up
any upgrades
to the pace.
Did Max have any upgrades?
Red Bull had some upgrade. They had the front wing.
Which car had it? Because Red Bull aren't known to put upgrades on both cars at the same time. So I would say, based on the pace, because if you look at the second half of the race, as much as Lando and Ben were at the edge of their seats, the moment that car left a corner, it just went. Like the downforce in that car was much better than it was last race. It was going. Okay, it was cooking tires as well. Only one side of...
Yeah, something was happening with Red Bull's management now. There's a management issue.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say it's an absolute clear management issue, but there is a management issue because there was a part. I don't want to get to the ending of the race because that's the part that I got excited. But near the ending of the race, Max was talking about not just his left side not working, but the battery being low. And then the radio called it in that he forgot to charge it in mode 7. And I started thinking, man, how many modes do these drivers have to manage to, flipping get through? But at the same time, it just kind of shows there's a management issue going on here. So I don't know what that's.
There's no comms, is
there? It's very odd for Red Bull, in my personal opinion. Management issues tends to be a Ferrari issue, but it was kind of the shoe was fit on the other side.
Leave us alone.
It's true, though.
We're doing fine.
It's true. It's true.
And Ben, I have to pull you back to something you said earlier on in the year when you actually said Red Bull are on their back foot right now, and everyone can see it. And every time something has come on the news about Red Bull, I've thought to myself, ah, God damn it, Ben was right. And we are starting to see that GP and Max, we've never had any issues in their relationship.
Yeah.
And this race,
They are now.
with the battery issue, I actually thought, well, someone should have been looking at this.
Yeah,
And-
that's a very important thing.
It was at a very, very important moment. If Lando's tires hadn't fallen off at that point, I actually believe that Lando could have got his second win this race.
Yeah. No. We're, to be fair, TC Mike Hater's going to come out and tell you the one thing. As much as I knew Ferrari weren't competitive, the way Lando drove the second half of the race, I'm a fan of Lando, but I've not seen him drive that much. And some of the comms you were seeing through the race where they're telling him to push. And you could tell this car is now at its upper limit, not even its lower limit. The guy is driving on ice. And Ben called it early doors. He's like, if he lunges a couple of more times, he's getting enough speed. And again, because of the one DRS zone, the race is so much harder because the DRS zone is the start of the lap, not the end of the lap, like most places or multiple places. If he had 2 more laps, I want to call it that. If he had 2 more laps, even on those tires, he'd have caught Max. 2 laps is all he needed.
Here's my counter to it. That's true, but I feel like the greatest drivers should be composed enough to have done it within the 8 laps, and it's a balance of his tires was cooked. Those tires were older, but at the same time, I just need Lando to have just a little bit more composure. Not a lot more. Just there's certain moments where he power oversteered like twice. He lost time. And if you compare the ratio of how many times he power oversteered and was pushing our car more compared to Max's exposure, obviously Max has got way more experience. He's a 3-time champion. He's going to be more composed in those situations. But now Lando needs to come into that sixth sense type of composure now. Not just the normal. This is like a hunter going after a prey type of composure all the way through, you see. So it was a shame he could have got the dub. He could have got the dub. At one point, he was below a second in terms of gap. And then he power overstayed, lost time, So it didn't get on my nerves. But at the same time, I'm thinking, you now need to now have that extra level of zoned in, sixth sense. You can hunt someone down kind of composure, But for me, in general, boy, I'm just happy to see McLaren away from Alpine as their competition brand and up there in the mix on a consistent basis. So it's still a good look.
What
Absolutely.
about the people we haven't called out? Pirelli. I think Pirelli gets worse each race at the moment, because if you both saw the end of the race and you looked at Max's tyres, there is something systematically wrong with the compound that they keep sending to these races, because Max's one side of the car looked like the tyres were still good. The opposite side of the car, it was half the tyre was cooked. In the other half, it literally slanted into a degree. But we've seen in every race, the compound they're sending, they're not thinking of.
You know what I'm going to say. I'm old school. If there's going to be different engine manufacturers, there should be different tire manufacturers as well. I just feel, and maybe I know Pirelli's tire technology is ahead of the competition, but I just personally feel they're now stretched. I think them covering all the teams, all the different compounds, all the different treadings, in my personal opinion, they're far stretched. But I don't know what you think, TK.
I absolutely agree with you. I hadn't thought about it up until you mentioned now. If we're going to have different engines,
engine manufacturers, why have we got
the same tire? Because my thought was it's only fair for everyone to use the same tires, but they have different engines, so different management, everything is different. Make your choice. Choose which tire you want.
That's
but
me
do you
personally.
think that will then open up? That will open up this whole. This will open up another conversation, because everyone uses different powertrains, but we're only locked into what, 4? So 4 powertrains. We don't have 4 manufacturers that will make tires for this type of thing. However, the grid or the teams need to go back to Pirelli and say, look, because Pirelli control the compounds that go to each race. The teams just pick off a list and you see it with strategy. Everyone's got a different strategy for whatever race, but no two teams pick the same compounds
Here's the thing.
ever.
The issue is this. It's like how when Renault used to put the powertrains in Red Bull cars, and it's kind of like a take it or leave it. This is what you get. You're not part of the development process. We make it within the requirements to give it to you. I personally think Pirelli are on the same mode where it's like you can say what you want, but it's us and us only.
Tough.
You're going to take what we're going to give you. We're stretched. We're having to cover all teams, all compounds. Like it is what it is. So I don't think much is going to change. That's why I'm saying I'm old school. Where if there's going to be different engine manufacturers, there should be at least 2 different tire manufacturers working with the brands when it comes to not just their powertrain setup, but their aero. Aero affects it, man. Your downforce and how it's shredding through corners, the tarmac and everything.
The front wing.
I mean, FIA just needs to consider that, in my personal opinion. But away from that,
then, how do you think the race went? Like, who was your driver of the day? And don't say Lando because you're a papaya fan.
No. I even said, even though Lando deserved his win last race, Piastri was my driver of the day, because if you saw the moves that he was making at the beginning to get to places where he wasn't, the kid's in a good place. I'm still sticking with Piastri, and that's not I don't like Lando. It's nothing about not liking Lando. It's just Piastri's got a certain type of composure here that I'm really, really enjoying. Like when he can be composed and nothing goes against him, like he does bits. So that's my driver of the day.
What about you?
I would go with Kevin Magnussen. Yeah, I know you guys might not actually think he did much, but
give us the 2 cents, man.
Kevin Magnussen he gained 6 positions throughout this race. Started 18th, finished 12th. And to be quite honest, even though he might not get the screen time that he deserves when he's making moves and when they're strategizing in their Haas cabinet as it looks, but those 6 positions, if we were actually using the new point system, he would have scored himself a point.
Yeah.
Okay, bet. That's a good redemption week for him then.
Yeah. Also another person who we do not have much respect for simply because Daddy owns the team. Lance gained 4 positions. He gained 4 positions, and I think he is due something for that.
He was the AMR driver of the day, then I guess.
Yeah, considering that. Yes.
For me, it was Tsunoda.
Fair. You know,
he's now graduated from that angry little person to an angrier, bigger person. Because in micro SD card Red Bull, whatever they're called now, he's now the senior driver. He's outscored Ricciardo every race. Yes, he lost 2 places in the first lap, but the kid's fighting. And the only saving grace for me why he's fighting so much, he's almost the other side of Lance Stroll. If Honda are going to power F1 cars wherever they are, that kid
needs to be there.
Yeah, he needs to be there. Nah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout. And yeah, man, guys, that's Imola. That is roundup for Imola. Third race is going to be Monaco, the street circuit of all street circuits, man. I can't wait for that particular one. That's going to be my birthday weekend. As per usual, from us at Lover of Cars, if you want to see more reaction-based stuff for all your Formula One races, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss us on the next one. We'll catch you. Peace.